Alongside Rob Lewis and Brent Hubbs, I'm Austin Price for the Rocky Top Roundtable. Guys, Tennessee tasked with the uneasy task of taking on number 2 Alabama this week. Overall impressions of the Tide. Obviously, Jeremy Pruitt's got high regard. A little bit of coach speak, I think, with the fact that he's calling it the best Alabama offense he's seen in his lifetime. But Mac Jones and those receivers are playing pretty good.
Oh, I think they're really good. I mean, you know, you're going to split hairs on whether it's the best. I mean, that's semantics. They've got so many weapons from so many different places, and their philosophy, I think, Rob, is just so different than it's been. I mean, it's been a growing philosophy the last few years. They just want to attack. I mean, they go into a game wanting to score 50 points with a plan to score 50 points, and they're so much more aggressive on offense than they were 7, 8, 9 years ago with the way the game has changed. I just think they have weapons all over the place.
Oh, no question. I give Nick Saban a lot of credit. I mean, he's obviously, you know, his track record speaks for itself, but his ability to adapt over the last 5 or 6 years, and you know, from what they were with a guy like Greg McElroy at quarterback winning national championships with defense and taking care of the football to where they are now, you know, the most explosive offense in college football with the way they play. It's been an impressive development, you know, and again, Saban's track record speaks for itself, but for him to be able to kind of change his philosophy, his approach to become what they are now is, you know, this is not your dad's Alabama offense, I guess.
So how do you slow them down? I mean, you know, we talked about on the podcast earlier in the week, you know, I kind of threw out the idea of kind of doing what Kentucky did and just slide everybody back and keep everything in front of you. But, you know, Rob, you brought up a good point. Then they're just going to hand it off to Najee Harris, and he's going to gas you on the ground. So how do you slow them down?
Oh, I don't think Tennessee does. I mean, I don't mean to be, you know, fatalistic, but with the problems that Tennessee has had in defending the middle of the field in pass coverage, I mean, I think Alabama just attacks them there with Waddle and Smith. I mean, I think it's going to be a big problem. And like you say, I mean, if you back up, they have one of the best offensive lines in college football, and Najee Harris, who, you know, if it weren't for Trevor Lawrence and his own quarterback, might be, you know, the leading Heisman candidate. I mean, I just think it's a really tall task for a Tennessee defense that has been okay, but has really, you know, had some warts.
Well, I think you got to find a way, Austin, to win first down and hope Alabama, you know, is not at the peak of their game and is not particularly sharp. You know, Mac Jones has played well. He's managed the game. You need him to be off a little bit.
Probably due for a down game.
Yeah, but you need him to be off his game a little bit, and you need Tennessee to play really well defensively and you know, to find a way to hang around in this football game.
When you look at Tennessee's secondary, I just don't. I think that it's not a good matchup going against Alabama's receivers.
I mean, who has a good matchup going up against Alabama's receivers?
But I mean, I think even more so with the fact that Alante has been banged up, did not play last week, and then even then had not played well the last couple of games. Kenneth George has been suspect. I think Bryce has played pretty good all year. You know, but this is a secondary that, you know, has had its problems doing that right there, covering the middle of the field.
Well, no question. I mean, I think when you look at last week, Terry Wilson was 9 of 10 in the middle of the field. They've got to play better at the star position. If you're Steve Sarkisian, Rob, you're going to line up Jalen Waddle at the slot and say, hey, what are we going to do in here? And, you know, what kind of fun are we going to have in the middle of the field?
A lot of fun.
They've got to play better at the slot. They've got to play better at the safety position. I think they've been okay at corner with Kenneth George, Bryce, you know, Thompson, whoever. I think they've been all right out there. It's just when you need to make a play, you go to the middle of the football field and make that play.
Well, I threw the linebackers in there too. I mean, they're not responsible for covering wide receivers, but you know, when Tennessee does go zone, I mean, I think opposing offensive have had success, you know, kind of picking on them, isolating them, getting them in bad spots, and you know, generating a pass rush this week would be a boon for Tennessee, and it's not been something outside of DeAndre Johnson at South Carolina that they've really excelled at.
All right, so let's switch gears to Tennessee's offense.
Ooh.
Jarrett Guarantano, I think early in the week we all thought he's probably going to be the guy that they trot back out there on Saturday. Jeremy Pruitt, more uncommittal on Wednesday about that. Where do we think this thing is? I think it's still an open competition. To me, it feels like if it's not going to be number 2, then it's going to be Brian Maurer.
I think they're going to play all of them is what they'll end up playing.
4?
Or 2 or 3 of them. I mean, I do. I think they're going to play I don't know that the plan going in, we'll see, third series we're going to do this or whatever, but I think you're going to end up seeing them play 2 or 3 quarterbacks in this game. At the end of the day, my guess is they're going to bring Jared out there as the starter, but we'll see. Brian Maurer missed all of fall camp. I don't think they have a ton of confidence there. It's very clear they have 0 confidence in JT Shrout, and it's very clear, Rob, that they don't believe Harrison Bailey is ready to play right now.
Yeah, I agree, and that's what every fan wants to, see Harrison Bailey. And the fact is, he's a freshman that, he enrolled early. He didn't have any spring practice. Summer was limited. He was, missed basically all fall camp. And once the season started, he's back at practice, but you're getting ready for an opponent that week, and the 3rd or 4th guy is not getting any reps. So the amount of practice time that Harrison has is incredibly limited because of the circumstances that we're living in with the COVID deal. And yeah, he came in last week and made a nice throw, but that was really more Malachi Weidman making a great play down the sideline. I think Harrison should play, but I think fans that feel like he should be trotted out there and this thing's going to turn around, it's not fair to him based on the limited experience he's had at this point.
Well, Brent, you've talked about it in fall camp for what they want to do, or how for the ability to have for the offense to have success. Brian Maurer probably fits what they want more than anybody because he can move around. He can run some zone read stuff. He does move better than the other guys, but he has just continually stayed in the doghouse, plus had a hamstring injury in fall camp.
Yeah, and so where's their comfort level for him? I don't know. I wrote this on Wednesday, and I believe this. Jeremy Pruitt and Jim Chaney are going to go off a gut feel here, not just for this week, but for the next couple of weeks, I think, with their quarterback situation. And their gut's got to be right. But because it's not about Saturday. That's not what this is about for the quarterbacks. It's about what do you do Saturday that you can build off of at that position through the open date and go to Arkansas and have a chance to win on the road and then have a chance to win the back half of the season, okay? You're going to shock the college football world if you upset Alabama on Saturday. So what are you doing now, Saturday, and in the open date to give yourself a chance to win the back half of your football schedule? To do that, you got to find solid quarterback play, and you better start finding it on Saturday, and you better push the right buttons with the right guys.
Rob, I think ultimately, no matter who the quarterback is, Tennessee's got to go younger at wide receiver. I know Brent's tired of talking about it because they've talked about it and not done it really until, late in games like the other day.
You can't run a takeoff route with a freshman until the 4th quarter, Austin.
Apparently that's the new rule. No doubt. Somewhere Mark Levine smiles every time the Cedric Tillman rolls out on the football field.
Nice.
I knew that would get a smile from Rob. But it's so true, though. Like, at some point, Tennessee's got to give their quarterbacks some help and be able to get separation. And right now, those receivers aren't getting any kind of separation.
No, as much as Jared has struggled, he's outside of Josh Palmer, who's.
And they're just taking him away.
Yeah.
They're simply taking him away.
And why wouldn't you? Why would you not sell out? Brandon Johnson's made a couple of nice plays, but he's not going to, he's not a home run hitter. He's solid. He can help you. Josh Palmer has shown he can be a playmaker in this league. Outside of that, you've got nobody that scares you. Maybe the freshmen don't have complete grasp of the offense, but how is that worse than what you're getting out of Cedric Tillman or Ramel Keaton? Give him a shot. Give him a small package.
You can always run the ball, which is exactly what Tennessee would like to do against Alabama coming up on Saturday, Brent.
Give them 5 or 6 plays. We have seen at this point, you've got to get some help at the wide receiver position.
So Tennessee and Alabama coming up Saturday at 3:30. One thing's for sure, if Tennessee is going to shock the college football world, as Brent Hubbs so eloquently stated just a moment ago, they'll have to score a lot of points. Alabama's got the longest streak in college football history of scoring at least 35 points in every game. So Tennessee's better be ready to put up points if they're going to contend with the Tide come Saturday.